Hey internet friends, the year is 2022 and through an accelerated sequence of events over the past 2 years, something strange is happening everywhere, at all times. But I'm not everywhere at all times. I'm just in Atlanta. I was born here, I reside in the metro, so this is where the bulk of my attention on current events is exhausted. In this place to which Hollywood has laid claim. This place which the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, calls home. Last time I made a video about Georgia was 2017, 2018 after Red Mercury Scare in Atlanta. Red mercury being an assumed fictional substance, not thought to exist outside of the pages of science fiction. A substance capable of changing any explosive into a nuclear one with only a small amount of the substance. There were rumors back in the 1970s that a supposedly top-secret nuclear material began appearing on the international arms black market labeled as red due to its purported association with the Soviet Union. But in 2017, within the same hour that Atlanta's I-85 bridge caught fire and shut down the entire interstate, several roads in Atlanta were shut down following reports that an individual had walked into the offices of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission claiming to have red mercury on his person, which he claimed to have acquired from Africa. Homeland Security, the police, a bomb squad, firefighters, and a hazardous materials hazmat team were called to the scene to investigate. Eventually, the scene was declared safe, no further details were provided after the incident, and the focus of the media stayed on the bridge fire, which they eventually blamed on a homeless camp under the bridge. And as time passed, people stopped asking questions, the interest fizzled out, and the focus shifted elsewhere from rumors of alchemy, away from the city on the 33rd parallel of the Deep South. Until a year later, at least, when a prominent CDC epidemiologist and commander in the U.S. Public Health Service, 35-year-old Dr. Timothy Cunningham, made a mysterious disappearance. Epidemiology, if you didn't know, is a method used to find the causes of health outcomes and diseases in populations. Studying public health problems like environmental exposures such as air pollutants and chemicals, natural disasters like the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, terrorism events like 9/11 or anthrax attacks, and of course, the study of infectious disease on a population, like the flu, HIV/AIDS, Ebola, and we can't forget coronaviruses. After leaving work complaining of feeling unwell in early February of 2018, communication with Dr. Cunningham's friends and family ceased. He reportedly told his neighbor the day he went missing to erase his number from their cell phone. His family found his wallet, his car, even his dog all left behind in his Atlanta home. 2 months later, his body was discovered in the Chattahoochee River, and after a medical examiner identified his remains, he deduced that the cause of death was drowning. Dr. Cunningham was found in his running shoes, his pockets weighted down by 3 crystals, which I make mentions of each time I cover this story because it's just so odd to me that someone so straight-laced, fact-based everything is doing like new agey stuff like being an avid collector of crystals, which he obviously had in there for, I don't know, did he just discover them down by the Chattahoochee? Obviously, I think he had them in there because he thought they brought some sense of protection or something like that. And police said there was no indication of foul play, even though this poor fella was a high-level CDC employee who had access to weapons and information that could impact the entire world. But again, no foul play suspected. How do you feel about that verdict now, looking back at this story almost 4 years later, after everything that's happened with this whole pandemic? Back in September of 2021, something strange once again emerged from the Chattahoochee River, but this time it wasn't just one body, but reportedly 200. 200 headless goats were discovered in the water, which I should add is drinking water for almost 5 million people throughout the state. Goats are a huge symbol of the occult, and the MSM has attributed this incident to Santeria, a belief system originating in West Africa, the popularity of which has traveled to the Caribbean and Latin America. Santeria is based upon the development of personal relationships through divination, sacrifice, initiation, and mediumship, and it deals with some of the deities from Roman Catholicism. And while we've established that ritual sacrifice is part of their religion, I should add that only part of the livestock is received as the offering, like the blood or the entrails of the animal, and the rest is generally cooked up and they have one big bad barbecue after. So what I'm saying here is 200 headless goats discovered with their bodies intact, explained as being the result of Santeria. I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball, but it don't add up. Speaking of things found in the water, reported on January 14th, quote, a recently discovered gene has been detected in sewer water in Georgia that causes bacteria to be resistant to one of the world's most powerful antibiotics. The MCR, not to be confused with My Chemical Romance, the MCR9 gene found in Georgia creates antimicrobial resistance against colistin, the last resort antibiotic name so it can kill infections that other antibiotics cannot. MCR was first discovered in 2016 and has since spread, threatening antibiotic resistance to the point that it is, quote, one of the top 10 global public health threats facing humanity, according to the World Health Organization. They're attributing all this antibiotic resistance to global travel and the import of foods from other countries, saying, if we don't tackle it right now, we are jeopardizing human and animal medicine as we know it, and that can have huge repercussions on health and the economy. Dun dun dun, doesn't that sound scary? I'm sure Dr. Fauci is sending it over to the Wuhan labs, the US taxpayer-funded Wuhan labs right now, where they'll weaponize it and test it out on some puppies before deciding it's not strong enough, so they'll travel to a cave about 1,000 miles away in China and swab bat anuses so they can create some super plague spliced with coronaviruses for the next round of variants. Brought to us by Stacey Abrams twerking in the sewer. We gotta get them population numbers down to maintain humanity in perpetual balance with nature, as it's inscribed on the Georgia Guidestones, a monument of 6 granite slabs that stands alone in a field in the middle of Elbert County, Georgia. And inscribed on the stones are the 10 Commandments. No, not those 10 Commandments. The other 10 Commandments. Keeping population numbers under 500 million is one of them. No one actually knows who erected the granite monolith, but we all have our guesses, don't we? But anyway, it'll be a cute excuse for why people are getting sick after their 8th booster. It's those dang genes in the drinking water. I guess if anyone knew what was happening under Atlanta, and I mean literally under Atlanta, away from the public eye, it would have been one of Atlanta's most influential people, Atlanta's public transit leader, MARTA CEO, 56-year-old Jeffrey Parker, who allegedly took his own life last Friday night when he stepped in front of a train at the East Lake MARTA station in DeKalb County. Just 2 days prior, on January 12th, Parker had spoken at the agency's State of MARTA 2022 virtual event. At this event, he reported that in 2021, MARTA had achieved its 10th straight balanced budget while also embarking on its largest ever expansion plan, funded in part by a half-cent sales tax increase approved by Atlanta voters in 2016. So I'm getting a lot of questions about Jeff Parker's death, the events that drove him to take his own life. People are wanting me to cover it on my channel since there's been no real news coverage anywhere. And his colleagues were quick to take to Facebook and say nothing nefarious had happened. His family has made statements on the importance of taking mental health seriously, and that's about all they've given us. It should be stated that historically, MARTA has received a ton of criticism since it's the largest mass transportation system in the United States not to receive state funding. And MARTA's general reputation is basically that you want to avoid it, and if you can, and there's a lot of crime surrounding the areas in which it operates and on the actual transit itself. And not to mention that historically the funding it does receive has been used wastefully. Also, MARTA has a history of CEOs willfully terminating their contracts and not renewing them, which has us wondering, what's so awful about working there? What goes on behind the scenes? Condolences to Jeffrey Parker's family, but also condolences to the train conductor who has to work through what happened, what he saw. That's all I really have to say at this moment about this matter. In times like these, something strange is always happening somewhere. But here in Atlanta, it feels like the events have been revved up, and while many bury their heads in the sand, I have to wonder, what's going on here? Are all these events connected somehow? What are they not telling us? What do you think, internet friends? You know, I always look forward to your comments. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, and supporting my channel on Patreon. Bye!